Good morning Lithuania, good morning EU. I already feel a bit Lithuanian because we were here yesterday with the AKIS meeting, and I already felt the will of the people here to go AKIS. And I'm going to try now in my presentation to explain you what it means and what will come along with that. And today we've done several capacity building seminars for the EIP in the former years, but today we have a lot of new faces. So I just added 2 slides with which I will start just to explain the basic of AKIS. What is AKIS? It's persons, organizations and institutions who use or produce knowledge and innovation for agriculture and interrelated fields. So it's much broader than agriculture alone. And the main players are, of course, farmers, foresters, advisors, researchers, farmers' organizations, you've heard this already, but also NGOs, retailers, media, services, the ministries who are very important. They all produce and need knowledge. So it's a very wide group, and we will try to focus down a little bit to the key pillars who can put things into actions, as we saw the cluster here being the ones who are pushing this forward, to get into a regional, national, and in the end an EU innovation ecosystem which enhances knowledge flows. That's the word you need to keep in your head. What counts is knowledge flows. That's what we want to do. In the former period, we just funded projects, but we realized that these projects, they need people to find each other. And we had no specific approach to make people who don't know each other to find each other. And this is what AKIS needs to do, to structurally organize people to get together that maybe don't know each other and that can do useful things together. So you find all this rationale in this little brief with the link here below. And just this slide to explain the A of AKIS. It's simply there because it started with the researchers themselves in 2008 who explained that AKIS research, the simple research system of the past, researchers only, the linear system, researchers create an innovation, a possible innovation. It should trickle down through advice, through whatever, to the end user, and then automatically it was expected to be taken up. But this system, in their view, in 2008 already, doesn't work so well. We really need to do things together, feel that we co-produced it, believe in the solution, and that's where our interactive innovation model started. And the reason why we kept A is because we still believe in those principles, and we didn't want to confuse you that we have other views now, but the A is not just agriculture alone. And as you can see here, it's everything farming is related to, rural activities are automatically related to environment, climate, biodiversity, landscape, consumers, citizens, food and non-food systems, the transformation, the processors, the distribution chains, etc., etc. So it's really quite broad. Now we come to AKIS coordination bodies, because that's what I need to tell you in this presentation. And this is my picture, what you need to keep in mind. What you see is a web, a spider web. And that's exactly what an AKIS coordination should do, build a web around him, her, around the unit, whoever is the centerpiece, and try to get as much people into the web. Don't eat them like the spider. Get them in your web and get connected. So keep this in mind. And then you will understand that the AKIS coordination body's overall task is, on the one hand, for us to be the contact point so that we can communicate to you, help you, and therefore it's useful also to know the precise person, because in some of the CAP plans it just says Ministry of Agriculture. Of course, last year things were not completely settled yet, but meanwhile you probably know who is the person, who is the unit, who is the task force of maybe 4-3 people who are the core. Let us know so that we can keep in touch. And don't hesitate if you need something to come back to us. So you're the contact point as AKIS coordination bodies. And of course, as a spider in the web, you should cooperate with any AKIS-related platform across the geographical levels in your country, in regionalized countries. This is really key. And follow in a quantitative and in a qualitative way how your AKIS is going forward. So keep the finger to the pulse and see how it is evolving. Because we start with something relatively new. You heard our Director General, we don't start from scratch. But still, all these connections are new. And you are the persons as AKIS coordination bodies who have the main responsibility, and you also have the power, because you're in the ministry, very close to the managing authorities. If some things appear to go not as you expected, you can ask for modifications, and we can consult with you and come to an improved solution on whatever moment you think it's needed, because this will not be perfect from the beginning. That's impossible. Also keep an overview on the progress, as I said, through monitoring and evaluation. We have 3 result indicators, R1, R2, R28, but they are rather rough indicators. For instance, they take together training, advice, participation in operational groups, and maybe at national level, you would prefer to know exactly whether your training measure is going well or your advisory measure is going well. And our evaluation help desk, which is part of our big CAP network, has already made a document for how you can evaluate better. So I put there, well, you can't see it very well, but you will be able to see it when it's on our website, the link if you want to read a little bit more on that. Now, the importance is also for you to organize advice, because we completely changed the approach for advice at EU level in the regulation. And now it's up to you. Advisors are one of the key pillars. Because this morning, the advisor speaking for the cluster was very symbolic. Advisors are really in the middle, talking to the farmers, talking to the researchers. So it's also logic that you, as AKIS coordination bodies, organize the advice according to the new approach and be as transparent as possible. And the principle is as follows. We want that the transitions that RDG was talking about, that they are going to work, that our farmers change behaviors into innovative approaches, into things that we have to tackle. We can't close our eyes for climate change, for environment, etc. So we really need advisors who are close to the farmers and who influence immensively, and you will hear that from the advisors in your groups, in the breakout groups. They are sometimes the one person, besides also their colleagues, their peers, but those are the most influential persons in the life of a farmer when he takes decisions. So it's very important that all advisors get into the bath, let's say, that we all train them, bring them the knowledge, get them into contact with research, and that this expertise really from the advisors is there and is improved. And we don't want to forget the private advisors. I'm not talking about commercial advisors, because as public funders under the CAP, we cannot pay for companies. But of course, they are part of the AKIS. It's not that you have to exclude them, but under the CAP, we cannot pay for them because they are service providers for their own companies. But in any case, in particular, the impartial public advisors, which might not be in the big public body, don't forget them, because they all are influencing farmers. And one of the new obligations is not only that our advisors that we pay need to be impartial, but also that we have regular training for them, because we want to get them up to date with the latest knowledge and innovation and cover the whole spectrum from economic, environmental, over social sustainability. There are a number of obligatory fields, but we don't ask that everybody captures all those fields. You have to have these fields covered in your country or in your region. When you're a big country, you can't expect an advisor from one side of the country to go to the other side. So you have to try to organize that these fields are covered, but not necessarily within one body as it was in the past. Don't forget that a lot of interest into our measures is linked with simplification. People don't want complicated things. So I have 2 slides, or maybe 3, which I go very quickly because you will have everything afterwards. But it's important to think about simplification of the way how you work with costs. And for instance, tomorrow we will listen to vouchers for knowledge actions like training and advice. We will see examples. Also, these knowledge reservoirs can be very useful, and there are several ways of financing them, as you see here. And there's even a knowledge reservoir, a digital one, in the making. And they are here with us, and they will be somewhere in the hall with some banners. You can get connected to them so that you also can draw from their knowledge reservoirs things to your national knowledge reservoir, and vice versa. Further simplified costs, I won't dwell too long on this because that's something for you further to read, but we have advance payments. We have this exception now of state aid, which makes us possible to cover anything from biomass, energy, water, which is not Annex 1 product. So a big difference with the former period. And of course, you can even, for an operational group, get rid of all the invoices by, in the beginning, when the project is selected and well prepared and the costs are already readily justified there, just say, okay, this is the price for the products, all the costs look acceptable, you ensure that you have a good selection committee who can judge on that, and then the rest of the work is quite simple for you. You can pay in one lump sum or in a few installments. I think this is a big way forward, which we didn't have in the former period. Innovation support services, also 3 ways. We try to be as flexible all the time to pay with that, either under the operational group intervention, under the advisory intervention, under the technical assistance budget. So plenty of ways to do that. And of course, I have to show you where are the rules, why we need this AKIS. They are in Article 114, which says that you need, as a country, as a managing authority, to look to your organizational setup and try to improve it. You have to do a SWOT. And how? And here we come. I said the AKIS is very wide, but who are key persons in there? We have the advisors, very close to the farmers, influencing them. Also good middle persons to link up to the researchers. And we have our CAP networks who can do a lot. So those 3, if they come close to each other and they collaborate very intensively, we will get a much better AKIS. So that's part of the job. And then also I think the reform of our advice, as I already mentioned, and the fact that now you will need obligatory to offer innovation support to capture bottom-up innovative ideas from farmers who are maybe too shy to say them, but the advisor is there regularly to listen and to see and to hear if there are interesting ideas, to pick them up, and with all this preparation money or innovation advice or whatever intervention you choose, you can work this out into an operational group project and test things out. Now, for a coordination body, the key thing is knowledge flows by networking and collaboration. So we expect, because we are linked to CAP plans and a number of funding coming from interventions, that it's in the managing authority, somewhere in the ministry, but certainly not alone. I repeat it, spider in the web, supported by anything that is existing. And yesterday, we had this question in the AKIS group on the role of CAP networks, asking with who will you work? Don't reinvent the wheel. And what you need to do is the wheels that are already there, to put them together and make the car rolling. So take steps to do so, try to do it a bit systematic, but stay flexible and focus on the elements that need most your help. We've made a background tool which was in your package in the welcome letter, so you can read it. I have 3 slides with just the link and what's on there. I can skip those. And end here with a picture that maybe, and I have to give a little bit of explanation for those who are not used to work with sheep, to speed up knowledge exchange and innovation. We have a lot of people there, a whole bunch of sheep that need to get pushed into the direction of collaboration and working together. And how a sheepdog is doing that is very softly. He's not going to bark, because then all the sheep run to the corner of the meadow. It's not how it works. Gently goes, lie down, and in this way, I see a few people who probably know about sheep and sheepdogs, who already understand the picture. So that's what AKIS coordination bodies will have to do in a gentle way, try to get people on the move to work more together. And this is my last slide. I hope that by building all these AKISs and each country doing its best on itself, in the end also across the EU we will have a better AKIS with more creativity, more practice application, better connectivity across, and there's still a lot to do between the countries to learn from each other with specific interventions maybe, so that the information is circulating quicker. So thank you very much. I'm not sure I have time for questions. I leave that to Sarah, but you always know how to find us. We have a team in our new unit, and we will be there to help you in whatever. Don't be shy. If you have questions, just ask.